Good evening and welcome to the Franchise Tag podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcome to the Week 7 talk show. Me and Adam back again for a lot of conversation. We actually saw each other over the weekend at Wembley for the London game in that rainy effort that the Jacksonville Jaguars put up with the Rams.
Yeah.
Well, the Rams
that's
dominated.
being nice.
Yeah, I mean, the Jags touchdown at the end did get a bit of a cheer. And
Little
it was
bit.
Travis Hunter's first one, right?
It was, yeah, his very first touchdown of his career. He'll probably remember it because it was the first one, but that's probably all he'll remember it for, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, before we've come on air, we've had a very long and lengthy discussion about the London games at Wembley. I think we'll keep that to ourselves for the minute. Obviously, not the most riveting game, but it was great fun to be there. I actually, as I said, very privileged to the media a lot of time, but actually went as a fan. We bought tickets, then we went, and your wife came, and Andrew's wife came, and my brother came, which was good fun. So it was a lot of fun to see you actually in the flesh, in person, seeing that you're well and everything like that. So yeah, it was nice.
Still alive, still going.
Well, I had a really nice time with you guys. I mean, that's the important thing to take away. I had a very nice time.
That says a lot about the experience, doesn't it?
A little bit, yes, a little bit. But yeah, we had a great time. It was good fun. And thank you to Alex, who does the college show, and obviously Sky, who are at media, got some great shots. Have you seen Sky's going pretty viral?
Yeah, Sky got ripped off by NFL.com's Twitter page. How dare they not credit him? Disgraceful behaviour. But I saw it on the train coming back. It came up on my phone, and I was listening to it, going, pretty sure that's Sky, isn't it?
For anyone who didn't see it, you should go and watch it, because it's Sky basically said about, Stafford throwing 5 touchdowns. No one ever done that in London. Is that enough for him to be knighted? And he does the whole 9 thing. Goes, will I get a sword for doing that? So if you have seen that, that is our guy, Sky Lawrence Pank, who's usually with us. He's going to be back more regularly very soon, hopefully. But yeah, big credit to him for a real great little soundbite there. But it's been, I think it's going to be the next few days. That's going to be in a lot of places. So that's nice. That's good fun. It's them little things that we do that feels like the work pays off in a way, I suppose. But yeah, so Sky's doing fantastic, and like I said, he's been sorely missed for most of the season this year, but he's going to be back very soon with us, hopefully on a more regular basis, which should be really good, because love having both of you on and love doing this all together. But we'll move our site to New York to begin with this evening. The Jets losing once again, 13-6, the Carolina Panthers. It's on. The 0-17 season is on. It is getting more and more and more, I would say, obvious in a way. I don't know, more likely, it feels like. I think we can, let's draw ourselves back to the summer, and we look at the coaches who are out there. The top 2, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, both there. Ben Johnson, I think, more so rather than Mike Vrabel, I suppose, with that offensive mindset and the amazing things that he was doing in Detroit, and Vrabel obviously with his experience and what he did in Tennessee. Yeah. And then they didn't get either of them. We go look at Aaron Glenn.
The only thing I would say is, don't you think Vrabel was always going to the Patriots?
Yeah, no, I don't. Didn't it? He was always going to go there. That was very obvious at the time. However, Ben Johnson was up for grabs.
Yeah.
But Aaron Glenn was also up for grabs. Did some fantastic work in Detroit with that defense. They go and get him. We go, okay, all right, well, it's not the defense that's been a problem. You had Robert Saleh in the building. He was a defensive guy, big defensive-minded coach from San Francisco. Created a sterling defense at one point last year. Really formidable. And the year before that, they were formidable as well on the defense. Gets sacked. Bringing Aaron Glenn, you think, okay, solidifies the defense up again. What are we going to do at quarterback, though? Because, we need to do something here. They go and get Justin Fields, 2-year contract, 40 mil. Say it, 40 mil.
Yeah,
not crazy money. Not crazy money. No. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I was pretty okay with that. He had a good good stint at Pittsburgh. Obviously got benched for then Russell Wilson coming back in after his injury. Some people at that time, me included, debated that decision, really. And we go in this season thinking, well, Breece Hall, better running back, I think, than most people give credit for. Garrett Wilson, one of the top wide receivers. They go and draft Mason Taylor, very hot prospect tight end out of college. And it's just not looking good at all. They're one of the worst teams to watch in the NFL, if not the worst team to watch. 29th in passing offense as of this morning, with teams still to play. 30th in passing yards per game. First in sacks, 31. I'm okay with that. That's Justin Fields' game. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I've said that a lot, haven't I, in the last few weeks about some of these guys would get sacked. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. I'm okay with that. If that's your game, that works. It's fine by me. They are 6th in rushing yards. They are 10th fumbles, joint second. And I look down at the schedule, Adam. I look at it. I can't see the wins.
No. So I know it's early, but I like to throw in a shameless plug to free bets as always. I did every week I do a news article, and I didn't know. I obviously, because we were at the game yesterday, it kind of became a little bit like, oh God, what am I going to write about? And at some ridiculous time at night, I was messaging Andrew going, what the hell am I going to write about? And I was a little bit like, what about the Jets? There must be something about the Jets going 0-17. Like, there must be some sort of betting odds around. And I couldn't find one for them to go 0-17, which I was a little surprised about. But obviously, they still do regular season wins and stuff like that. And so I did one for that. So you'll be able to see that tomorrow at free bets. There you go. There's your regular, the horrible plug. But you're probably going to hear now what I think. I kind of agree. I don't know where these wins come from, because when you look at the schedule, the Bengals won last week against your Steelers and looked reasonably all right when it came to the offense. The defense is still struggling a bit, but looked all right. The Browns won yesterday and looked pretty good with the run game. So I think that they'll be difficult to beat in that respect. Patriots doing well. Ravens, Lamar Jackson back. Falcons are doing all right. Who else you got? Now the Dolphins is the one where you kind of think to yourself, okay, maybe the Dolphins, they could win that one. The Jaguars away. Jaguars looked really bad yesterday that we saw, but that could just be a blip, and they've looked all right. Saints have looked like they'll give it a go every single game. They give it a go. They're not great, but they're certainly better than what the Jets have been. Patriots again. And then potentially the Bills in the last game if the Bills are resting all their starters. So it's tough. It's tough to see a win. And whilst I was sort of like looking at it, they will be the first team to go 0-17. No team has done that because obviously now there's 17 games. But it's actually very difficult to lose every game. Like, these guys are like professionals who are trying, and even if they're not necessarily trying, they're trying for the Jets at the time, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're trying for the Jets in the long term. They're trying for contracts in other teams and just their own careers and stuff like that. So it's very difficult for a whole group of guys to just completely not win a game across this season, So it's bizarre, and it just feels like it's not going to turn around. And I still don't. I don't believe you get rid of him. I don't feel like he should go, Aaron Glenn. It's like it's been 7 games. It's like you have to give people time in order to be able to do anything. But I just don't see where this stops and where this changes for them. I mean, you would know more than me. You were there when they played the Broncos in London. And from what I saw I watched like the second half of it because I was out earlier. But from what I saw, there was just nothing. And then in this game, just this weekend against the Panthers, again, there's nothing. And Justin Fields has been benched. And you brought in Tyrod Taylor, who's then thrown 2 interceptions as well. And it's just, you just sort of look at it all and you go, where does it end? And I think the answer is it doesn't. I think that's the problem.
To mildly defend, they lost by 2 points to the Steelers. They lost by 2 points to the Bucs. They lost by 6 to the Dolphins. They lost by 2 points to Denver. They lose by 7 points to Carolina. There's close games in there. There's close games. I'll admit that. There's close games. But then, like you said, when you look now further on the schedule, Browns and the Dolphins are the 2 games I go. They're the ones. If you want to get anything from this season, they're the 2 games you've got to target here. I don't think you're beating the Patriots on both occasions. Ravens, like you said, with Lamar back, not happening. Atlanta, way better outfit. Jacksonville, like you said, though we saw them, they were terrible. They're a good outfit. They know what they're about. Saints, again, a real ballsy team. Like they know what they know where they want to go. I'm not sure. This is the discussion we had the other week, wasn't it? About the coach that got fired at Tennessee.
Brian Callahan.
Yeah, Brian Callahan, sorry. Was what is this team? Where am I finding your identity? Where am I finding your personality? I'd say I'm finding it a little bit in some of your, that front 6. There's some guys in there. There's some good players. Aaron Glenn, I think, is getting a bit of a pass with the fact that he's from the Dan Campbell tree. Dan Campbell's first season, he went 3-13-1. I think some people are pointing to that. I think that's where he's getting defended a lot. I actually think if they went 0-17, he doesn't. I don't think he loses his job, and I don't think he should either. I do think you have to be a bit patient. And okay, you go 0-17, you go okay with the number 1 pick in the draft. Now you're probably going to be looking at quarterback, probably at this point. But then again, we go into next season with a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields. Do you do the whole Justin Fields starts, bring him? Does that work? Do rookie quarterbacks develop well enough under defensive coaches when we're looking around the league at the minute? That's an argument. There's a massive argument in there. At one that we've definitely believe in on this podcast for sure. And you go, well, what are we playing for then? We're playing for a quarterback, but then we might have a quarterback in terms of, are we going to manage that properly? You look at the cap, they're mid-range in caps. So they don't need to worry about offloading. What do we do now at this point? Because if we're going on, if we're 0-7 at this point, it's probably, we're not going to have a winning record in my mind. I think everyone knows that. So what we're winning, what we're playing for here. Your mid-range in cap, like I said, don't need to offload really. You have got some key players that are coming up. Elijah Vera Tucker, Breece Hall. You may want to offload them at the trade deadline. They may want to be re-signed later on. I think Vera Tucker's not done enough for me to warrant a new contract or a big contract.
He's had a lot of injuries though, hasn't
Exactly. Well, but
I know it's part of it.
That's not warranted enough. That's not warranted enough. You can't stay healthy. You're not going to be on the team, unfortunately. Breece Hall, they're going to have to make a decision on that as well. So then what are we playing for this season? I think when you're in that scenario, what you're playing for then is we need to know what the plan is. We need to know what the identity is. There's a way of winning, there's a way of losing in this league. And they are losing in the wrong way. You got Garrett Wilson getting upset on the sideline. And that's not a mark on Garrett Wilson. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be getting upset. But players start to get upset and they look like that. There's probably people that are pretty upset in the building and it's going, all right, we lost again, but at least we're going somewhere. At least we know we're going somewhere. Look at Kellen Moore. Look at Kellen Moore at New Orleans. They're going somewhere. I don't think it'll be fast, but they're going somewhere. And the Saints fans are going to be okay with that. They can sit with that. It's a ferocious market, that New York media and that New York fan base. They are going to want to see something. And what I saw with the Jets Broncos game, seeing them live, as you referred to earlier, was I saw a quarterback that is not getting protected, is not really having a clue of where to go. A run game that didn't look like it was exciting. A defense that they did well. They did fairly well to keep Denver at bay, to be fair to them. And they've got some good players, but they signed Sauce to a very big contract. You can't call Sauce Gardner a top 10 cornerback at the minute. You've got Quinn Williams in the middle, a very, very good defensive tackle, but it can't be just him. It can't be just him. You've got young guys who are not developing at the right rate. People like Jermaine Johnson, who I know was a low round draft pick. Will McDonald. They're good players. I think they're good players. I think they've got a bright future ahead of them, but they need to keep developing. Now, Aaron Glenn's the guy to do that, I think. I think he is the guy to do that. But we then need to have a look at the situation of what's going on in this offense and how do they develop that? And if you're the defensive head coach, who do you bring in to be that guy next to you? And we're seeing that now around the league. We're seeing that now around the league, that it's not on the head coach. It's got to be on the whole staffing. Yeah. And you've got to make that all work. And it's very, very hard. It's very hard to get. You look at the other Lions guy, who we're probably, spoiler alert, going to talk about it at some point. He brought in a defensive coordinator who got booted out at New Orleans and was terrible at New Orleans. Turns out he's a pretty all right defensive coordinator. He's clearly a very good defensive coordinator. So, I mean, last team to go 0-17. Oh, it was 0-16. Was the Cleveland Browns in 2017. What more is there to say? I mean, it's the number one. At this point, you're going. We're playing for the number one draft pick.
Yeah, I mean that is what it is, and I mean, even if you're not playing for the number one pick, you're playing for a very high pick, which means that you can get yourself a quarterback and stuff like that. I feel like the fact that you've decided to bench Justin Fields in a tight game as well. I think they probably did it thinking if Tyrod Taylor can come out and do something, we can win this, which is why they've benched him. I think that says an awful lot about where they are with Justin Fields now. Now, I know for certain that if Andrew was here, he'd come out and say that they're not playing him in the right way. And I'm not going to say that that's not right. He would know more than me. I mean, he was an Ohio State player, and he played with, he watched a lot of that at college. But the thing that I've noticed with Fields over the last few weeks is he keeps holding on to the ball, and he needs to get rid of it. And it's just like there seems to be quite a common thing, and it's something that seems to be happening with a lot of college quarterbacks, where they just the unwillingness to just throw away the ball and have another go, because they just don't do that in college, because you just run around and you just keep going, and it's like you don't need to. But I think his time has probably come and gone now at the Jets. So I don't see him doing much else there, and I don't think he'll get another starting gig. To be honest, I think that he'll probably be a backup now. So yeah, but when it comes to the whole organization, it's just a mess, and I think they're just going to have to go through it now. There is no other option. I think it is literally, you just have to stick by your guy. He's literally just walked into the building for this season, and you've got to give him time. And if you do that, hopefully at some point he'll be able to turn it around. He'll be able to draft his quarterback, and they might actually be able to do something. But until you get to that point, I think there's nothing else to do, really.
Well, we'll be keeping our eyes firmly on New York and seeing if it is a winless season. We'll be right back with a message from our sponsor.
Have you ever dreamed of managing your favorite pro football team? Do you watch your team and think the GM got it wrong again? Do you think you could do better? Here's your chance to prove it. Introducing Ultra GM, a revolutionary new take on fantasy football that makes you the general manager of your favorite team. Start with the team's full roster and build it through the draft, free agency, trades, and even the practice squad to create your ideal team. No fantasy football platform or GM simulator has ever provided the degree of realism and engagement that Ultra GM offers. And none has ever given you the opportunity to manage the team that you love and care for most. Compete against family, friends, and even your team's real GM to see who is the Ultra GM. You think you can do better than your team's GM? Visit ultragm.com to prove it.
We were very, very mean a couple of weeks ago. In fact, it was a month ago. actually, because I went and checked the episode. When we did one of our sections, it was about Caleb Williams potentially being dropped for Tyler Badgett, and that it wasn't working in the Ben Johnson offense, and that can this Bears do anything, and will it be a bit of a baptism by fire for Ben Johnson in his first head coaching role? And we've just talked about one Detroit Lion ex-coordinator. We're now moving on to the next, but the 4 wins on the bounce. They started 0-2, beat the New Orleans Saints over the weekend, and we were very complimentary about them just moments ago. They beat them 26-14, and it's looking like they've got something going on. I think Dennis Allen, astute hire, like we just said in our section before. A head coach that he did very, very poorly in New Orleans and was the heir apparent to Sean Payton. That was going to be always a hard gig to follow the great Sean Payton, and look how amazing he's doing in Denver. But he's coming as defensive coordinator. Watched the highlights early against the Saints, and like we said, this Saints team, they've got some gumption, they've got some grit, and they come at you hard. But this defense for Chicago has really got it going on, and that's been something that we've said about the Bears for a long time, is that their defense is pretty good, and they make moves on it as well. And when we look on the offensive side, it's starting to click as well. I think that they need this season to go through the whole thing with Ben. And I think next year we've got a real team on our hands, to be honest with you, because they are allowing a lot of passing touchdowns, but they're not really allowing any rushing touchdowns. They've allowed 15, but 5 of them were in week 2 against Detroit. And they're 7th in yards per game at rushing. That's a hallmark of what Ben Johnson's about. We saw that in Detroit with that tandem of Montgomery and Gibbs, and it was Montgomery and Williams before that. And we're starting to see this identity for the Bears, and it's really coming to fruition. Like I said, 4 wins on the bounce.
Yeah, they look good, don't they? I mean, it's been one of them things where it's funny when you see teams, and you just spoken about the Jets and how a lot of their games are close 1-score games. It's funny because obviously, like, the Bears have won, so they beat the Raiders, beat the Commanders 2 weeks in a row. They had the bye week in between even, but they were only by 1 point. And I think it just sort of like it shows a lot where it's almost like you say, it's maybe there is an element of that. It is mentality, and it is that thing where it's like, we will keep going, and it doesn't matter how many the opposition get. That you just sort of like you sneak through. And I think if you can get them sort of wins, you see it a lot in football over here. If you can just get that 1 win to change momentum and change the way that it's going, because them first 2 games they did kind of struggle. It's like when they only lost the Vikings by 3, but they struggled a bit more than that, and the Vikings sort of did well. Got hammered by the Lions in week 2, and they were 0-2, and you just sort of think, oh, this could fall apart. This could end up going the way of like the Jets. But they've got themselves a couple of wins. They went up against the Cowboys defense that was quite easy to score against and did well there. Get them couple of tight wins against the Raiders and the Commanders, and it makes all the difference, because it's really just like built some momentum for them. And they're going now up against a Saints team that, like you say, they've got a bit of something about them, but they're not. I think they just lack talent. So I think that's how come they probably went and won it relatively easily. It'll be interesting to see what they do next week. So they're going up against the Ravens defense that you have been able to score plenty against. They're saying that Lamar Jackson should be back for that game. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. And then, but you look at it, you do look at the schedule and you go, well, a lot of these teams, Bengals, Vikings, they're not doing great. They got to go up against Giants, who, kind of screwed up yesterday, but looked like a decent team. And then obviously they've got some tough games coming up after that. They've got like the Steelers, the Eagles, the Packers, 49ers are another team they're going to have to play, and then the Lions at the end. So it feels like this is a transition year. That's probably what they are. And it's about them I think Bears fans are probably getting really excited because they're like 4-2, and it looks like that they're going places, and it's good that they are excited about it because I think they probably are going places. I think that this season is about them. If they can get in the playoffs, then that's brilliant, and that's your season done. Like, you've done well just to get to the playoffs, and I think that's how they should look at it. Anything they get in the playoffs is great, and then you build from that because this team, we did say, like, before Ben Johnson went there, this team actually, it went 5-12 last year. It was not a 5-12 roster. It really wasn't, and they've added to it already. And then if they can kind of be that team that just sort of like is in the wild card round but doesn't win, but sort of like, you're in the middle of the draft for next year, you can then build again and bring in more people. And it feels like they're in a potentially a very good spot for a year or two's time.
Yeah, I think you're very, very right in terms of in the year or two's time. I think it's going to be a dramatically better team. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't think Caleb's out of the woods yet with this team. I think he really needs to show a little bit more in terms of his development, but it's 7 games in. I'm okay with that. There's still, 6 games for them because they've had the bye.
It's only his second year as well, isn't it? So
only his second year, and he's not pulling up trees stat wise. And I don't think he's doing overly. I don't think he's doing overly loads wrong. But I think we're sort of seeing how Johnson is on the sideline, and we're sort of seeing how he seems to be. I think we sort of thought he was going to come in as like a Dan Campbell guy, rah, and he's not really. He's a lot more calm and cool and collective, isn't he? He's a bit more Kyle Shanahan and McVay than Campbell in that way. He's a lot more, and I think he will have a bit of a like pressure on Caleb to be like, you need to clean some of this stuff up. You referred to it a moment ago with quarterbacks keeping their hands on the ball for too long and not getting rid of it and stuff like that. And I think Caleb needs to develop them areas. I think he needs to smooth it out a little bit. I think they should have been wiser with some of their draft picks. I think that Luther Burden and Colston Loveland were a complete luxury pick when it was a time when they didn't need to make luxury picks. And they couldn't afford to make luxury picks either, I don't think. I think they should have done way more with solidifying up their edge rushing talent in terms of younger guys. Done a little bit more in terms of their O-line. I know they brought in people in the offseason. I know that. But the best teams reinforce them trenches. And I thought that, when you have Roma Dunze, who's having a very, very good season, DJ Moore, who's a very good veteran wide receiver, Cole Kmet, who I think is a very, very decent tight end. He's a utility guy. You brought in another utility guy in terms of Colston Loveland in the first round, who he's not been great to start the season. He's been okay. I don't think he's not been Tyler Warren, but they are different. They are different styles.
Yeah.
Luther Burden's been.
I agree with you on the Colston Loveland thing. I think that's a very fair point to come out and say, because Cole Kmet was decent, wasn't he, last year? He wasn't bad. He would have been perfectly fine. Luther Burden, I think that is purely to take over from DJ Moore, because I think that DJ Moore probably won't be there much longer.
But I think you could have done that next year. I think you could have done that when you could have afforded to use the luxury picks. I know they're doing well in the yards per game rushing, and they've got a decent rushing attack. And Carm Nunge, admittedly, looked pretty decent in the last game. But I don't think DeAndre Swift's it. I think he's good, but I don't think he's it. I don't think he's a long-term guy. You could have gone, if you look around, Cam Scarborough was sitting just there. That sort of thing now. But I don't think it was I just don't think it was a smart pick to make at that time. And I do worry a little bit like that, but I know it wasn't Ben Johnson making the picks; it's him, the GM. But he's wanting to sign off on that as well. And I'd be a little bit careful about stuff like that. You need to solidify them lines a little bit more for me.
So I agree with you, and I think that the reason that a lot of money was spent on the O-line, wasn't it? That was in free agency. That was sort of like the plan. That was the big weakness, right? We're going to go out, we're going to get vets, and we're going to sort that out. I kind of feel like they have maybe not 100% done that, but pretty close to doing that. And that's why you're seeing Swift looking good and Monongai looking good, because that O-line is doing all right. So I think I agree with you on the respect of edge and maybe looking younger. I think when I think about it and when you look back on it now, I think that what would have made so much more sense was instead of getting Colston Loveland, you get yourself an edge rusher in that first round, and then that can help with the defensive side of things. You've still got Cole Kmet. You probably could have gone out and got a free agent tight end. I'm sure there'd been someone you could have got, or someone you could have traded for, so that you got some backup there. And then I think the Luther Burden bit, I just think that has been done on purpose to replace DJ Moore when his contract comes up, and just that's kind of like integrating him in the team earlier so that you don't. The theory is that you never stop, isn't it? It's kind of like I suppose you're talking to a Packers fan, for crying out loud. I mean, like, it's what we've done with quarterbacks for as long as I've been alive. So it's that same sort of thing where it's like it's just a wide receiver. So I'm not, I get why they've done what they've done with that. I think Kmet would have been fine, and you would have been able to sort out edge or defensive tackle, whatever you wanted, sort of thing there. And you could have got a really, really good edge rusher. I mean, you saw like, James Pierce went to Atlanta, so that was later. There was loads of them that were available that were really good talents that went after where the Bears were in the draft. So yeah, it probably was a little bit of a luxury pick. I think they just sort of went, the defense is good. I think that's kind of how they felt after last year. The defense is good. It'll carry on. Yeah. And the offense, if we get some more weapons for Caleb, then it'll all be fine.
Do you worry being a Packers fan? Do you look at them yet and go like, I'm worried? No, I do. I still, though they're 4-2, third in division, Detroit are 4-2 as well. I don't look at. I look at its 4-game run as a real good. I think it's like you said, momentum. It's really good to get that momentum. That momentum might get slapped out of your hands though when you're coming up against, like I said, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Giants, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Eagles, the Packers. I mean, like what? Rubbish defense, Ravens at the minute. Bengals, not that great defense. Giants, very good defense. Vikings, good defense. Steelers, if we can keep the momentum's good defense. Eagles, good. Packers, good. Browns, good. I mean, they're coming up against some of the best defenses going down the stretch. I mean, the only one who's not in there, but you'd be like, oh god, it's like Denver. That's the only one in there. Yeah. But you go like, oh well, they're coming up against some big defenses, and I think there's a huge positive. If they get a wild card spot, you have to be happy with that season. Have to be, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're doing enough. They're not done enough just yet for me. And I think it's Caleb. I do think it's Caleb. I think it's his development that is going to make me go, they're not still going to be bottom of the division at the end of the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you just quickly look at it, when you look at some of the stats for it, and I know it's not all about stats, but if you just sort of like look at some of them when it comes purely to Caleb Williams, there are some concerning things. I mean, the biggest problem that you look at is 61.1% pass completion rate. Now, it's not exactly the most exciting stat in the world, but it's a huge concern that is way too low. That needs to be like, I mean, mid-60s is kind of considered average now in the NFL, and it's sort of like you want high 60s if you're going to be a quarterback for a team that's going to, really kick on. So that is quite a big concern. I mean, if you just, Jordan Love is 69.3, that's exactly what you want. Just ironically, we were talking about the Jets. Justin Fields has got a more accurate percentage than what Caleb Williams has. And so this is the real issue where you just, if you want to move on, if you want to keep going, and they're probably looking at it and going, well, we want to, we want to keep going with Caleb. He's the one who, it's only his second year we're developing. Look at what, Josh Allen, he sort of like flew in his third year, didn't he? That was when it all happened for him. And you see that with a lot of quarterbacks where it's almost like it does take time. You just need to give him time to do it. He might get there. He may well do. He might not as well, and I
don't think it's a might about it. I think he gets there. I think if he keeps developing, I think if he just keeps developing with Ben, I think if Johnson just keeps developing him, works out his game plan of what he wants to do with him, and he learns and learns and learns. Like we just said, it's year one it's 6 games for Johnson, the head coach. He's learning this as much as Caleb is.
Yeah,
and I just, the way they're developing, I don't see Caleb not developing, coinciding with that development. I just don't see it. As much as I feel like we've sort of been down on Caleb, but there is still work to be done. Of course, there's still work to be done. I just don't see it. I don't see the work not coming to fruition under this leadership now with Johnson.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The big problem with Caleb is he sort of came into the league with this high expectation, and he hasn't met it. Like he just hasn't, because the problem was everyone thought that, the next Trevor Lawrence was coming through. Another one who didn't meet it. This is the thing. It's like sometimes it just takes time, and also the organizations and the way that they've been dealing with, you get your first pick, your number 1 pick, rookie quarterback, and then you end up firing the head coach 6 weeks, 7 weeks in. It doesn't help. It really doesn't help them, and it really screws them up for longer. And it might just take him longer. You might end up with Caleb Williams taking as long as what Trevor Lawrence is taking, because they lose the first year, and he effectively lost the first year, and that's the problem. And you can't do that to rookie quarterbacks. They need stability. That's what they need. That's the biggest thing that helps them. And again, another organization that historically has made some really bad decisions, making another really bad decision. So hopefully now with Ben Johnson, he can kick on and things can happen for him.
Yeah, I think with the way their defense is playing and how well it's doing, it's going to provide Caleb with more opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's what he needs. He needs them more opportunities to play on that offense and to do his game plan, to do Johnson and execute Johnson's game plan. And he's giving him this team, this whole coaching team is giving Caleb the opportunity now, because they're making the turnovers. They're getting the offense onto the pitch rather than them sat there and having to sit there for 15-minute drives and not being able to get onto the field to execute. And that's what Johnson, this team is giving and providing that opportunity for this offense. And they're taking it. They are really, really taking it. And it is development. And I'm very confident in thinking that next year they would, for me, would be what would be for certainly a wild card team. At this point, we talked so fondly about the Patriots this year. Well, I did anyway. I don't know, you weren't as fond as I was about it, but I was very much like, I think the Patriots are going to go to the wild card this year. They'll be the surprise team maybe that gets in, and I think the Bears will be either this year or next year. They are definitely going in that trajectory, in that direction. But and then moving back to the schedule, like we spoke to a moment ago. You eke out some of these wins against some of these top teams, some of these bigger teams, you get taken a lot more seriously. If you can eke out a win if you can beat the Ravens, I think at the minute you go, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't think that's like a devastating loss for the Ravens at this point, because I think they've got a lot of problems going on. But you host Minnesota with that defense, you could go, okay, or you go to the Philadelphia and you get something, or you keep it a close game. You split the wins with Packers. You split the wins and loss with your team. I think you suddenly raise your eyebrows and go, this is going to work. This is going to work.
Yeah, it's about getting. It's a weird one, isn't it? It's kind of like, although the season ends, it's about getting the momentum at the end of it in order to carry it on through to the next year and be like, especially when it comes to like the whole Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams partnership sort of thing. It's all, that's something that's going to be there for multiple years as if everything goes well. So you sort of think to yourself, so it's all about getting that momentum at the beginning, kicking on, doing well with that. Like you say, getting a win against one of the bigger teams towards the end of the season, or getting a couple of them, that's only going to be a positive for them when it comes to next season. So that's what they've got to look for, and that's what they got to look to do. it wouldn't surprise me if they throw in a few clangers during the season and they lose by a decent chunk because it's just not quite worked, because they're just not in that position to be winning every week at the moment. But I think they're not far away, and they've got a chance of being able to really do something in the future. So
let's turn our attention to a more southern region of America, and that is Dallas, Texas. We'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys and their, dazzling, tantalizing win against the Commanders 44-22. And we went on a lot about Baker and his MVP-ness, I suppose, last week. Maybe it's time we put Dak in that spotlight as well, because Dak Prescott is playing at an unreal level at the minute. Dak's back. Dak's back. That's it. That's the headline there. Dak is back. He's second in yards, second in touchdowns, 1,881, 16 touchdowns. He's not turning the ball over, which is brilliant. He's only had 3. He's second in first downs, second in yards per game, only 8 sacks. He is the George Pickens thing's worked. It's worked. Pickens has worked. And I was, as a Steeler fan, it is very frustrating, but also I know when you light the fuse for George Pickens that it may explode at some point. So I'm not quite all bought in on all of the sunshine and rainbows of George Pickens in Dallas. But he is what we said he was. He's probably one of the best number 2s out there. And when you're behind CeeDee Lamb, any wide receiver is going to be a number 2, because CeeDee Lamb is also playing a wide receiver 1 level as well. Well, I say wide receiver 1 level, as in the one, the only one, the best one in the NFL. He is playing a crazy level as well. It's been a very weird season for them. 24-20 in that opener. The overtime, 2 times they've been to overtime. Beating the Giants and then drawing, terrible drawing, with your Green Bay Packers 40-40. But this offense is so high powered. It's so fun to watch. And for all the stick that Schottenheimer was getting at the start of the season, we said that he probably won them hot seat coaches. He's making this work. He's doing very, very, very well.
He's doing all right. I don't really know much about what, who is he?
You can't say all right. You can't.
Is he calling the plays? Is he calling the offensive plays?
Unsure. And apologies if you can hear my water pouring, but I'm
not. Dry. I don't know if he is or not. That's the thing. I think offensively they are doing very well, but defensively they are appalling, and so therefore they're doing all right. Sort of thing. That's kind of where we're at with the Cowboys. It's a really funny thing. This will make no sense to any Americans probably, and I apologize. It might make sense to you, but I'll go with it. I was watching a bit of the Gary Neville podcast after the Man United Liverpool game. And they were talking, him and Jamie Carragher were coming out talking about, you never want your team to be that entertaining, because that means you don't win anything. And that's how I kind of feel about the Cowboys. They were talking about Liverpool. Carragher, Liverpool, ex-Liverpool guy, talking about Liverpool and how you don't want to be that entertaining, because if you're that entertaining, it means that you're winning games as well as losing them. Whereas for what you want to be, is you want to be steady, in control, know what's going on, get over the line every time, kind of thing. And it does kind of remind me of the Cowboys a little bit, because the thing is, okay, they're doing well. On the offense is doing very well. Dak is playing very well. I think I think because of what's other people, I don't have him as an MVP candidate.
How can't you? How can't you? Because he's putting up with the plays he's making. How can you not?
Because they're not winning games. They're winning some games.
That's not his fault. Joe Burrow last season, we said,
didn't win the MVP.
But he was in the conversation the whole time, and then we all said, "Oh, it was the defense that was letting him down." So why isn't Dak in that MVP conversation then?
Well, I think you can have him in the conversation, but when I say I don't have him in the conversation, what I mean is he's not going to win the MVP.
Okay.
So that's why I don't have him in the conversation, because I'll just come out and go, "Well, the team's lose." This is the problem. It's not wholly done on the single performance of the person, is it? This is the issue.
But it should be, because it's the most valuable player.
But it never has been.
Well, yeah, well, that's NFL's. But they trade Micah Parsons to you guys. Everyone goes, all right, okay. I admit their defense is not great, but they're first in quarterback scores. They're third in quarterback knockdowns. They've got 15 sacks, second in quarterback pressures. They seem to be doing pretty okay without Micah Parsons in town. The secondary is rubbish. The secondary is really bad. I admit that, but
yeah.
They made some good. They made the right move now. Surely, getting rid of Micah, got in them picks.
Whoa, really? Do you think so? Do you think getting rid of him was the right move? If anything, you could argue the offense.
They're still putting pressure on the quarterback. They're still doing the pressure on the quarterback without him there.
But they're giving up so many points.
But that's the secondary.
Yeah, I understand it's the secondary, but I feel like you could argue they would be better with him in the team on the defense.
Every team would be better with Micah Parsons in. Let's get that out of the way. Firstly, every team would be better with Micah Parsons. But what I'm saying is the move they made with trading him away, getting the picks that they got back.
Yes,
which
they can't use yet.
That has been a success though, because they've not seen a downgrade in terms of the pressure that they are putting on the quarterback. Their secondary was crap last year with Micah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think that just having him out there would create more trouble than what they're creating now. I understand what you're saying about the pressures and stuff like that. I get the statistics of it. I feel like they would be better off with him out there. Because I think, although they're putting pressure on the quarterbacks, I think there's more chance that he gets sacks and causes more disruption. And maybe he didn't last year. Maybe there was a performance drop off because he was frustrated about what was going on there and all of that sort of thing, and he wasn't playing. Maybe he's playing better now than what he was. I don't know. I haven't seen that, but I kind of feel like the defense would be better off with him out there. And if you've got the offense playing like this, why would you give that up? That's what feels a little bit odd.
What I'm trying to find is what Sky said earlier in our group chat regarding this. Regarding where was it? Here we go. Dak Prescott has now has thrown at least 3 touchdowns without an interception in 4 consecutive games. Other quarterbacks do that. Russell Wilson in 2015, Drew Brees in 2019, Rodgers in 2014, Manning in 2013-14, Brady in 2007. MVP candidate.
Right. I know it's not all about betting, but you're dealing with me, so deal with it, okay?
Dealing with the dealer, some may say.
Exactly. So if you look at the betting for it, these little buggers, they know a lot more than what we do, and they put the odds out as they are for a reason. There is 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 quarterbacks in the betting ahead of Dak Prescott.
Give me the 10. Give me the 10.
So from favorite Mahomes, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Drake May, Matthew Stafford.
Little slower for me. So Mahomes, yes.
Mahomes, Allen.
No, not at the minute.
Mayfield.
Yeah.
May.
No.
Stafford.
Yeah.
Goff.
Yeah.
You'll like this one. Daniel Jones.
No.
Jordan Love.
No, that's unfair. Daniel Jones is playing at an MVP level. Yes, he is. Yeah.
Jordan Love.
No, not playing at MVP level.
Lamar Jackson.
No.
Jalen Hurts.
No.
Then Dak.
I just think, admittedly, that is for end of season. I get that. But currently, right now, the bracket is Mahomes, Mayfield, Jones, him. And then Stafford sort of on the peripheral. I mean, I am a little bit in firm belief you can't spell MVP without MAYE, but that's just shout out to our boy Sky. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that can't be something that you thought up. That's got to be a Sky thing, surely.
No, I mean, I actually just made that up right on the spot right now, which is quite impressive of me. But I do I do adore Drake, mate, admittedly. But
I think Dak is playing really, really well, and the offense is doing great, and it's actually only going to get better now because CD Lamb's back. So that's only going to improve.
What if they go out before the deadline and they get someone in a corner or safety, let's say?
I think they need more than one person.
I agree, but it could be the spark.
If it improves, I think the thing is look, the reason that Daniel Jones is ahead of Dak in the betting is because Daniel Jones is on a team that is currently 6-1 and looks like a team that, if they keep going, has the potential to really kick on and be maybe not the number 1 seed, but certainly a very high sort of like
they'll win the division. They'll win the division.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you just keep winning because you're playing against teams that aren't as great, because you're where they finished last year, they're a bit lower, so they don't play the rankings and all that. If they play teams that aren't as great and you just keep winning games, you could end up with a bit of a Tennessee Titans situation from about 4 or 5 years ago, where you end up with them randomly hitting the number 1 seed. That means something. And that's the problem. I understand what you're saying, but it's just the way that the MVP award is given out. It's not just a stats thing, because if it was just a stats thing, like you say, Joe Burrow would have won it last year.
Yeah,
but he didn't.
When you look a little bit further down their schedule, it is tough viewing. Admittedly, they're at the Broncos next week. Tough game. They'll beat the Cardinals. Then bye week, they've got the Raiders. They'll beat the Raiders. I think they'll give the Eagles a really close game, to be honest with you. The way the Eagles are playing, if they continue what they're doing, I think that could be a really, really close game. The Chiefs, they look like they're really kicking on now. The Lions look like they're kicking on. The Vikings, winnable game. Chargers, I think it's a winnable game for them at that point. Commanders, winnable game. Giants, winnable game. I just think I just think that the end of last year, we wouldn't have said that the Cowboys would have a sniff at well, would we say they would have a sniff at the wildcard spot this year with Schottenheimer, new coach? I don't think we would have said that. And I think they now comfortably get into the wildcard spot. And you've got to see that as a success. Year 1 coach, you've got to see that as a big success.
Yeah, as a year 1 coach, that would be a success. I don't think they get there. I think the Eagles will win the division. I mean, who else is there? Because I think you're going to have one of the Lions and the Packers aren't going to get in, obviously, as the winning one. So I think there'll be a wild card. We were just speaking about the Bears earlier, where it kind of feels a bit like where they could have potentially get in.
Yeah, but you look. The NFC South, I think, by the time it all is said and done, Tampa are the only team that go through there. You potentially you get 3 teams out of the West. How many wildcard spots is there? Give me a second here.
3. So at the moment,
only takes you guys to whittle off a little bit though, or the Lions, or maybe the Seahawks or the Niners.
I just don't. I don't see enough that when you look at it. So at the moment, you've got the Bucks, the Packers, 49ers, and Eagles. I think the Eagles win that division. I think the Bucks win their division. The Packers and the 49ers are the ones that could switch.
The
But
Rams
I would
won't.
argue that even if they do switch, you've got the Lions and you've got the Seahawks and you've got the Rams. And that's your 7.
If Dak keeps
Because-
playing MVP level, you never know.
I think that's where the problem comes in. I think you've got too many good teams, and I don't think they get there. And if they, if they don't get there, then he's definitely not winning it. But I think even if they get there, they're going to come up against one of the better teams, and they're done. So he doesn't win it then. That's the problem. I think they take what happens to the team into account as well. And it's not just all about the stat. Probably should be, but there you go.
Well, Adam, thank you very much for joining me on this show this evening. And thank you guys for watching or listening wherever you have been viewing or listening to this podcast. Make sure you check out the college show with Alex and Andrew later on in the week, and also the betting show on the weekend. Please continue to watch our videos, like and subscribe on YouTube and on all of our social media. Make sure you check us out on there as well, the franchise tag. So until then, thank you for watching or listening. We'll see you again very soon.